sure this is going to make the podcast.
It shouldn't. It's not going to make the podcast.
Okay, let's leave that.
Motherfucker was living in spa hotel.
Now that one will be. That one will be.
He was just a kid.
Sure.
Imagine you're a kid and you're living in a spa hotel, getting all that treatment, also playing basketball at the same time, and there were cameras all around him shooting that reality show, and now he's complaining about Lithuania. Well, I know Prijany is not California. I know that it's not Los Angeles. There are no nightclubs, no parties, no nothing, but he got good food, he got good water, he got...
We're talking about Lamelo Ball, right?
All the facilities, and now he's trying to make this up like some bad experience he had in some third world country, and that is just pathetic.
Okay, but it's the second podcast in a row where we're giving spotlight to Lamelo Ball, so...
I think we should cut this. I don't want this to be on the show, but
this will be...
You'll decide.
This will be for the intro. Anyway, guys, welcome to our bonus podcast. Again, without our two main hosts, Donatas and Gytis will be here at this table next week. I'm not sure if both of them, but they are back from Chicago. They did a lot of content with NBA Lithuanians, with Kasparas Jakučionis, who is about to be a high first-round pick in the next year's NBA draft, and they enjoy the trip as much. They enjoy the trip as much as I've heard. So next week we're probably going to have them, just talking about what they saw there on this podcast, and of course, reacting to EuroLeague highlights and lowlights. And this week, of course, probably the game of the week, even by the EuroLeague, was Real Madrid and Olympiacos. We are going to talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about Milano and the Partizan game. We are going to touch on some of other games because it was a double week, a lot of action. We did not see every match, but we saw, at least I did, pretty much of those things and maybe interesting moments from other matches. We are going to react to Dennis Smith Jr. finally joining Real Madrid, Chus Mateo finally getting a player that he wanted since September, since even before August. The start of the season.
Ever since Yabusele left for Philadelphia.
Every since Yabusele dunked on LeBron, he knew he needed a player.
You can say that. In the beginning, I just wanted to say one thing. Last week, we were also the two of us on this podcast.
Yeah.
So I went through all the comments on our last episode.
You like to do that. You like to engage with the fans on Twitter, on YouTube.
It's true. And the conclusion I got is that, first of all, people really do not appreciate my facial hair. But I kind of like it. I'm not going to shave anytime soon. I'm sorry, guys. If you don't like it, you have to live with it.
Yeah, this is how you do this. That is why I like you, because you don't care about what anybody else says.
My girlfriend likes the mustache. I like it as well. I know I could tidy up a little bit more, but I'm keeping it. Sorry. And the second thing is that there are only 2 times when we are wrong about Crvena Zvezda. Is when we talk about Zvezda and when we don't talk about Zvezda. Because most of the comments on the last podcast were like, why are you not talking about Zvezda? Because they're winning. And I want to say that Zvezda is a nice team right now. Zvezda fans, you should be happy about your team, the way they're playing. I know they lost the last game against Fener, but it was a competitive, high-quality basketball game. And they're in contention for the playoffs. I think finally something clicked and they're looking like a proper team. So we're definitely going to talk about them in our future episodes. And we didn't talk about them last week, not because we don't like Zvezda or anything like that. It just wasn't one of our topics for that time. And it's all cool with Zvezda, guys. Don't be angry at us. We have nothing against Zvezda. They're a good team. I wish you all good luck for the rest of the season.
I really can't believe what I just heard from this man right here.
No, I mean, come on. I don't have an agenda against any team.
I know, sometimes, I'm joking.
Sometimes it looks like I do. Actually, last week when I said jokingly, sarcastically, that I hate Panathinaikos, Some Greek media outlet actually put it as a quote out of context.
No way.
And again, I'm getting messages on Instagram, comments from angry Panathinaikos fans, and I don't get it. Why is it happening now? What did I do now? Because I was just praising Kendrick Nunn. And
we said so much good stuff
they just got
about
the headline
last week.
They just got the headline. Vysniauskas hates Panathinaikos or something like that. And one
is that how you do media in Greece?
I don't know.
I know there are some great journalists, by the way.
Yeah.
In Greece. So, like shout out to Christos Kouris.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of other guys definitely. That the name does not come to me right now, but
one Powell fan who was nice enough to actually understand the context because he listens to our podcast messaged me, said like, ignore those messages you're getting right now. It's just that some media outlets spread this fake news that you hate Panathinaikos taken out of context. Those guys don't even listen to the podcast, so now they're turning against you. And I know that you were just joking, but now it's just silly. Like I can't even joke on our podcast anymore.
Wow. Where has not all the media, but some of the media, where it has gone to?
I think it probably wasn't some big news or anything like that, because it was just like 5 or 6 people messaging me and threatening me.
I mean, 5 or 6 people is not, one person.
I mean,
imagine how many saw that, but they did not.
They did not find me on social media or something. I don't know. Anyway, I don't hate any of your teams, and whether it's Zvezda or Panathinaikos, I love watching all of them. And when the time comes, we'll definitely talk about Zvezda a bit more. But now let's focus on our topics and the game of the week, first of all.
I would just say a couple of words since you already mentioned about Crvena Zvezda.
Okay.
Just 1 minute. Because
cool.
The thing is that usually Zvezda, a lot of times this week, play on Fridays. And this week we decided to do our podcast on Fridays. So usually we see that game after we record our pod. And that's why we often, miss Crvena Zvezda. But obviously they were on a winning streak. They're actually one of the best teams in the EuroLeague in the last 10 games. They're 7-3, and they lost to a great Fenerbahce team this week. And when Fener hit 17 threes out of 35, like how many times this season that has happened? I haven't checked, but Fener really was not known for their offense this season. Like at one point, they were second worst offensive team in a stretch of like 7 games. Like only Alba had worse offense than Fener at one point of the season, and it was pretty recent. And they went into Belgrade. They had an amazing game. Nigel Hayes-Davis embraced, I would say, that crowd. He even did a
Serbian interview.
He did that, but he also did he's doing this challenge accepted things. Like he's collecting quests. I think in the EuroLeague this week he's doing these inspirational / motivational videos after some games, like short form type of reels. And he was like filmed right before the game, right before the tip off, with all that 20K people or even more. Who knows how many got inside of the Belgrade arena, but he's just standing there, like talking to himself. All the Zvezda fans are singing there, and he's like, okay, I got this. I didn't practice for so long in the summers to be afraid actually of this moment. So it was a pretty cool video. He scored 27, 6 of 8 from two points, 4 of 7 from the frees, and he's one of the best players in the EuroLeague right now. And when
not much they could do about it.
Yeah, not much you could do about, when he's posting up, he's turning around his shoulder and hitting those little fadeaways, like the one he actually got in Kaunas to close out the game.
Oh yeah, that one. Actually, I think in the preview for today's game on Lithuanian television, that shot was shown.
That shot is pretty much unguardable.
Motivate Žalgiris guys a bit more.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Fener is when they were losing and I was watching them is that, I don't know if it sounds right to you, but it looks like good spacing but bad shooting, which leads to losing games. And in this case in Belgrade, it was good spacing and good shooting as well, and they won.
And Eric McCollum has his first game, and immediately you have a little more shooting and a little more, let's say, just creation. But Zvezda finally have, they didn't have all the players, but they finally have Joel Bolomboy, which is super important to have back. Although I wasn't super high about his performance. I think he's still not properly in shape. Like it was clear to me in the first half he was lacking a bit of his speed, and Fenerbahce scored through him a couple of times. So Zvezda are in a good shape, and to me they are a team that's definitely playoff playing material.
Yeah. And I think they have good schedule actually, because now they're playing Maccabi, which is not a typical away game. You're still playing in Belgrade in an empty gym, and Maccabi is a team that it's easy to score on them. It's just about how you stop them from scoring. Then the Belgrade derby, Asvel at home, Alba away, Žalgiris at home. So they will not travel a lot in the next month. They will mostly play in Serbia. And the opposition in front of them, all teams look beatable, and some of them, like Partizan and Žalgiris, are their, let's say, direct rivals for play-in or playoff spots. So important games, but at the same time, I can see them going on a winning streak during this period. So let's see what happens.
Crvena Zvezda fans.
Yeah, we did talk about the team, even though we didn't plan on it.
Yeah, we didn't plan, but just from what we saw in the last weeks, and I'm really impressed with the defense. Even though Fener scored 90+ points this week, but Fener is a strong opponent when they hit on all cylinders. They are a tough team to beat even at home, and Zvezda have 5th best defensive rating in the last 8 rounds, so that's pretty good. Number 8 offensive rating. So this means on both sides of the court they have what to offer.
Yeah.
And with Bolomboy back, with Petrushev in, with John Brown there as well, you have options to choose from. And Yannis Ferropoulos now just has to make sure this team keeps going in the right direction.
Huge credit to Ferropoulos for making a team out of this group of players, because it's a big group of players, and sometimes it's hard for the coach to find a role for everybody, and big credit to him as well.
Who do you have in mind?
He got a contract extension as well.
Who do you have in mind when talking big group of guys? It's hard to manage everyone, minutes.
any coach, for any coach, is a big challenge, I think. For any coach, it's a challenge. Should we move on to the game of the week?
Let's move on to Real Olympiakos, game of the week, even by the EuroLeague. And I don't know about you, Rytis, but to me, there were a lot of side stories in this match. But to me, like right from the get-go, it seemed like Madrid just don't have the right energy anymore for this game. And we know their schedule. They played
so many games
in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They were basically last week they played, or 2 weeks ago they played 3 games, like Monday, Wednesday,
they played
Friday.
5 games in 10 days or something like that.
Yeah, easily.
Or even more.
Yeah, because they played Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Then they played again on Tuesday
and Thursday.
That's just crazy schedule. And
and they traveled a lot also. This is very important.
Last week.
Because they went to Vitoria, then they went to the other side of Spain, to Granada. They went to Kaunas, back to Madrid. And now they played, obviously, this double game week at home. But the Maccabi game was really demanding because it was a high-tempo game.
Exactly. And this is where I think they actually lost the Olympiacos game.
Campazzo was out of gas yesterday.
Campazzo was not the Facundo Campazzo we all know. And that is because you had to play all those games. You don't have the big depth chart, like Chus Mateo. Had to rely last week on the main players a lot. You played with Maccabi. You basically decided to not play any defense whatsoever in that game. And you were playing until the end with them. Like, you spent so much energy in that game, and then Olympiacos comes to town. They are ready. I know they played an overtime in Vitoria just a couple of days ago, but to me, the team with more energy right from the first minute was Real Madrid.
No, Olympiacos was.
Oh my God! I just said all that stuff to.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the very first minutes, because Real Madrid started with some good defensive plays, and they brought the ball to Tavares under the rim. They were leading 11-5, and that's when Olympiacos went on a big run. I think it was 12-1, and they got the lead, and they never looked back. And the man of the night was Evan Fournier. The first quarter belonged to him. He scored 12 points in the first quarter. Vezenkov didn't have many touches in the first quarter. I think El Ndiaye did a good job being close to him, as close as possible, except on one occasion where he bought on that fake. But Fournier was scoring, and in the second half, Fournier was just killer. He was playing some Mamba mentality type of a basketball game. I mean, those shots he buried with the shot clock running down, the three-pointers. I mean, that was insane. That was peak Evan Fournier, and I wasn't really sure we're going to see anything like this from him this season in EuroLeague after him being on the bench for so long in the NBA. But, man, he had his season high in points.
Yep.
He was just a killer on the court, a man on a mission. At the same time, Olympiacos were without Dorsey and Walkup, and I think in a strange way, it probably helped player like Luka Vildosa to feel more secure about his minutes. Vysniauskas was in a foul trouble, so Vildosa knew he's going to play a lot of minutes, and as strange as it sounds, he was the best Argentinian on that court because Campazzo was basically out of gas. Vildosa was a playmaker, dishing assists. He was a shooter. There were so many plays where Real Madrid players would go under screens, and when Mustafa Fall is setting a screen, you will not go under that easily. So the man with the ball in his hands will have the opportunity to shoot. So in the third quarter, it was Vildosa, it was Vysniauskas, and they definitely punished Madrid for this defense. And
let me just touch on this.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm really glad you mentioned Real Madrid going under.
Yeah,
because that's the tactic. You could say it's a lazier tactic.
It's the laziest there is.
And I mean, you could say it's a percentage strategy. It depends on the perspective, from which side, glass half full, glass half empty.
I don't think Vildosa is the guy who wants shooting open threes.
But Madrid does that often, especially with bad shooters. Like Luka Vildosa is not a bad shooter. I don't know why they did that. But
you could do that against Walkup, but Walkup wasn't there.
And exactly, like I wanted to mention him. Like Thomas Walkup, every time he played against Real Madrid, Real Madrid made him the shooter. Like last season, 2 seasons ago, every time in the Final Four. And like yesterday and this season, with the guys that Olympiacos have, with the way Shaq McKissick is shooting the ball recently, going under against Olympiacos, at this state of Olympiacos, it's not longer a strategy. Like you are going to get punished from that. And Olympiacos scored 16, like season high 16 threes yesterday out of 30. Of course, some of them, Evan Fournier, 5 of 8, some of them were super high class, one-on-one isolation basketball. But in the third quarter, in the first half, there were so many moments where Real Madrid went under. And, sometimes Olympiacos missed, but more times than not, they made a shot. And that was a strategy that Madrid could use against Olympiacos before. Now it's no longer that. Anyway, back to your other points.
Basically, I said almost everything I wanted to say. I mean, the fourth quarter is kind of out of context of this game for Olympiacos. They had 6 turnovers in 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter, they were sloppy. 9 turnovers. Somehow Real Madrid managed to make some sort of a comeback. It was an 8-point game with 2 minutes left, but it was impossible for them to catch up and win this game. And, Real Madrid for so long has been the strongest team in Europe in terms of depth, quality, experience. And right now, I think the torch is in Olympiacos' hands. Even Campazzo said it before the game that Olympiacos, in his opinion, is the best team in Europe right now. And now you see Olympiacos matching up against Real Madrid, and it's 5 against 5. And you're wondering, let's go through positions, which player I would pick as the better option. And 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, depends on the lineups, I would pick Olympiacos players. So not too many matchups where I would say Real Madrid has a better player in this matchup. Because for Madrid, when they play without Campazzo, when he's resting, basically the only way for them to run their offense is Hezonja posting up.
Yeah, but
they try to get him against a smaller opponent, and then he's posting up. I know he's an elite player. He can score. He can pass, but it's hard to play when that is your basically only option how to create something on offense.
Exactly.
Hezonja posting up, and that's it. Some of the plays he's doing right now in the low post belong to Gabi Deg, but since he's gone now, he's taking that role as well. And Musa, Hezonja, Campazzo, Tavares, elite EuroLeague players, but you're matching them up against Vezenkov, Fournier, Fall, Milutinov, and you're struggling to say that Real Madrid is better in any of those positions. Honestly, Nikola Milutinov, if there weren't so many injuries in his career, he probably have one MVP to his belt right now. He would be ranked as top 3 center in Europe. I think he is at the moment actually one of the best centers in the league, but he had so many injuries. He missed so many games. Even this season he was injured. It's hard to be consistent when you have so many injuries, but he's a dominant center. He's so good in the painted area. I mean, even yesterday he finished with 23 PIR, I think.
I don't have the PR right now, but 13, 8 rebounds, 1 assist.
Yeah, so 23 sounds right.
23 sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean, just an amazing team, Olympiacos. They're playing without walk-up and Dorsey, and you don't even feel any difference because Vildosa, Williams Goss play their minutes. I think maybe this season the only issue is that players like Larenzakis don't have any rhythm at all in EuroLeague, and now when the time comes that he has to play a little bit, he's not his usual self. There's not much confidence, and in the second half, he's not even in the rotation. But it's a small problem to have.
It just tells you how much better this Olympiacos team than years like last season or 2 years ago. I mean, 2 years ago they were pretty good with Suliauskas, Vezenkov. They almost won a title, if not for Sergio Yui. But they made a huge step forward this summer, and I just wanted to talk, like you mentioned the great thing, like second unit. I'm looking at that second unit of Madrid.
Man, and Feliz, Rotan Mays, inexperienced EuroLeague rookies.
Not in.
They have
not in rhythm too.
European experience, but they're EuroLeague rookies and they're role players. What else is on their second unit? So Ibaka was out yesterday, so Garuba is the backup center. You have
Hugo Gonzalez and Mario Hezonja.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm looking at it like second quarter, basically. Like Madrid's second unit, you just see that's not working. The only option they have against Olympiacos, when the Olympiacos are playing great defense, is to look for that 1-4 switch to get Hezonja a post-up against maybe a smaller guy, or just give Hezonja the ball, and Mario is shooting every time.
But if you do that for 3 or 4 possessions in a row, the other team adjusts. They get used to it.
You need other options.
Yeah.
And Sergio Yui, maybe not after so many games in 2 weeks, maybe not against Olympiacos, is still sometimes a viable option, but not against Olympiacos. No. Not when he's guarded by Goss, McKissick, name anyone.
And obviously they had a bad shooting night as well. It didn't help. And to Real Madrid's credit,
great shots.
There weren't, most of them, I agree. But to Real Madrid's credit, they were on a good run. They had such a tough schedule. They got very important wins in EuroLeague, in Liga Endesa. They improved in the standings. At some point, they probably had to lose a game, and now you're facing Olympiacos in that moment. And it makes sense that they lost, but right now, I feel more confident about Real Madrid moving forward than I did a month ago.
And we criticized them a month ago. I think we should compliment for what they did in this last month. They had so many wins in a row in ACB and in EuroLeague, and I think players stepped up.
Yep,
players stepped up, and I don't know if that's compliments to just Mateo. I don't know if that's players. But they played much better. They played way more to their potential than they were playing before. They were playing much harder, and that helped defensively. And, when you play good defense for Real Madrid in transition, it's really hard to stop. So this game, I like that your point. Like, this game had to happen at some point of the season when you're playing so many games. It's really ridiculous, the schedule that they had. in the last weeks. One more point about Olympiacos. I just wanted to, mention this. How are you stopping Evan Fournier and Sasha Vezenkov pick and rolls, like two-man game? Because Fournier has the ball. That's already a problem in EuroLeague. And then Sasha Vezenkov is going to, and that's the tricky part. He's either slipping the pick and roll. He can set the screen and then pop. He can slip and pop. Or he can just run around like this and do like a kind of face cut, and Fournier can get the ball. So how do you guard that? And if you are just on a slight miscommunication, it's either Vezenkov wide open, and if you are late to Vezenkov, he's probably going to pump fake the shot. Someone flies by, he makes the shot because he has one of the quickest releases. Other times, because of Vezenkov's movement when actually setting or not setting that ball, Fournier is wide open, and we saw that in that run that they made in the second half. Vezenkov is right there, going to set the pick. Two guys are on Vezenkov. Fournier is like wide open after already making 3 shots in a row, and I'm like, how do you stop that? And I like that they're getting more reps together. They're playing, in every game more pick and rolls, and it's going to be a problem to solve.
I think you don't stop that. I mean, they're just too good. But my idea about defense is when you're facing such talented teams is that you have to force them to be mid-range shooters. You have to force them to take those less effective shots. I mean, because if they go for threes or layups, you're done. Vezenkov, he only scores layups and threes. So somehow, Evan Fournier, I know he can knock down any type of shot, but if you make him a mid-range shooter, it's less effective, and nights like in Vitoria might happen. In Vitoria, he was 1 from 11 shooting 2-pointers.
But he also made so many threes in the end and decided the game.
He's also a really aggressive, athletic player. He can drive to the rim. He can draw fouls. And it's easy to say something, like do this or do that. At the end of the day, you're facing one of the best players in Europe, and you have to live with the fact they're going to drop 20. They're going to drop 20, whether you defend good or not, whether you contest those shots or not. Because even yesterday, I think Abalde, Gonzalez, they did a good job against Fournier on certain possessions, but he still scored. So what can you do about that?
Shout out to Shaq McKissick. He's been playing amazing basketball recently.
I loved his dunk at the end of the game. Like the ball went to him and he was already running. And when he's running in full speed and he has an absolutely open corridor to the rim.
Take off.
Two-handed dunk.
Houston, we taking off. And he's taking off just last 4 games. 17 points against Žalgiris, 16 against Bayern, 22 against Baskonia, 13 against Real Madrid. He has missed 3 2-point field goals out of 17. So that's 14 of 17 makes. And he has made also 10 threes in 4 games.
His 3-point shooting is close to 40% this season. He's
39.
He's not the guy you want to see shooting wide open threes anymore. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, other teams would dare him to shoot. Right now, he's burying those shots. 39% is great.
How do you guard that?
I don't know.
Look, Rytis, how do you guard Shaq McKissick if you're close to him? Like
I don't want to guard him. Can I guard somebody else?
Who you want to guard? K-pop?
That would be a bit easier.
Yeah, but he's still going to make a random free when nobody's making a shot on Olympiacos team, like hand in his face. K-pop gets the ball and makes a shot. Like that's how I imagine him.
Get in the game with top basketball leagues. Place your bets with the highest odds for greater wins. Oh, score big with our exclusive bonuses. Bet now and get your bonus.
But anyway, Olympiacos are playing great. When they're not playing great, like against Baskonia, they're still
winning.
They're still winning games. Yeah. So deservedly, they stand at the top of EuroLeague standings. Last thing from Real Madrid and Olympiacos, we had quite a tension about the refs, I would say. I mean, Mario Hezonja, even on a halftime interview, said that this is the game of the week and some guys on the court are not ready for it. And at first, I was like, is he talking about his teammates? But then I'm like, nah, this can't be about his teammates. No. And it was about the refs. And then, before we go to evaluate that, Olympiacos assistant coach Yorgos Bozikas roasted Real Madrid for the way they're trying to influence refs' decisions. He said they are a team that plays with the referees. They're constantly flopping, putting pressure, not just the bench and the players, but the whole arena in order to get as many calls as they can. And that was not it, because this morning at 10:46 a.m., Eddie Tavares responded to this on Twitter, and he wrote, "Shut up and be honest about some decisions." And I just want to hear your opinion about Real Madrid crying about the refs. The camera is all yours. Rytis, go.
I don't want to talk about it too much.
Come on now. Give us some spicy takes, man.
I don't like how Real Madrid is reacting to referees. I don't like their reactions, the technical fouls, the constant complaining. They're a team that has a long history of actually being favored by the refs, some could say. And now when something is against them, the free throw numbers do not match. They're complaining, they're angry. And at the same time, I will agree with Mario Hezonja that refereeing yesterday was poor. It's not that it was against one team or in favor of the other, but it was just poor refereeing. Like they give a bad call on one end of the court, or not necessarily a bad call, a soft foul or something like that, and then they will compensate doing the same thing on the other side, which disrupts the game. And in the game of the week, you just kind of expect refs to let these guys ball, You don't want to talk about the refs after Real Madrid Olympiacos. You want to talk about Fournier, you want to talk about Musa, you want to talk about Campazzo, you want to talk about Milutinov and Vezenkov. But here we are, still talking about the refs. So there is some truth to what Hezonja said. I didn't like the refereeing yesterday. But that circus that Real Madrid makes sometimes when they're losing is also ridiculous. It's not the first time it happened this year. Let's remember Žalgiris game in Madrid. Let's remember Efes game in Madrid. They were losing, and then they started blaming the whole world for their loss. Now it's just Real Madrid against the world. Chus Mateo again gets ejected for his second technical with 5 seconds left. There was a technical foul to the bench. There was Tavares got a technical foul as well. Complaining. I know there were probably some mistakes and bad calls, but if you're Real Madrid and you honestly think that refs did not let you win and they did not let you play, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, Chus Mateo, credit to him, in the post-game interview, just said that Olympiacos were the much better team and they deserved to win the game, and didn't talk about the refs at all. So, but it is what it is. I didn't like the refereeing, to be clear. The game of the week deserves much better officiating than was yesterday.
And I agree with you. I agree with you about what you just said about referees. But I think, just as Chus Mateo said, the gap between Real Madrid and Olympiacos yesterday were just too big for it to be decided by the refs. But I thought it was interesting because, well, this is a storyline that has been happening, EuroLeague refs, EuroLeague mafia, all that stuff. But to me, it's always like the two teams that when they're losing always have to say something about the refs are Real Madrid and Panathinaikos.
It's true. Or not Panathinaikos, or just Ataman.
Yeah, that would be more correct, because Ataman before was in
Anadolu Efes.
It was the same thing. It was the same thing. So sorry for that. But it's always like that. Like, it happened this week. Pau lost to Barca. And Ataman said, how can we play basketball if they're playing American football? He was talking about Barca's defense and all that stuff. And by the way, shout out for Todd Warnick, referee expert. He has a great article about this Panathinaikos and Barcelona game. Like, he reviewed almost all the plays. The article is on basketnews.com/plus. You can, for a couple of euros, you can not only unlock that article where he's explaining whether or not Ataman was right. other mistakes that were made during this match, you can see the Q&A episode. So if you want to see, it's probably one of the best things right now that you can buy when accessing the BN Plus. So go check that out, basketnews.com/plus. The plug is done right now, and yeah. Anything more about the refs?
I just want to say how angry the crowd was in Madrid yesterday. The way they were reacting to every call, it seemed like it's not a basketball crowd. It seemed like it's a crowd of people who are protesting against their prime minister, and the prime minister just walks out of the building to give his speech, and they're booing him. They're showing middle fingers and all that stuff. There is this one legendary Real Madrid fan who is always there. I call him the fitness guy.
Yeah.
That really fit dude with Real Madrid jersey. He was so angry yesterday. He was so angry. I thought he's going to run to the court and maybe approach those refs. Some guy was offering his glasses to the referee.
That's a classic one.
But it was an angry crowd yesterday in Madrid. And Madrid is not known for, let's say, a very spicy atmosphere in Visiting Center. And actually yesterday, at the same time Real Madrid played Olympiacos, in Santiago Bernabeu, Real Madrid played Vigo Celta in Copa del Rey, which is usually not a good thing for the basketball team because it probably affects the attendance.
Yeah.
But it was almost full gym. At least it seemed on television like that. But they were not focused on supporting their team. They were just focused on the refs too much, I think.
Hey, hating the refs unites people. Not supporting your team.
That is true. I mean, it makes you wonder who in their right mind would want to be a referee.
Oh, I asked myself that question. I asked the referees that question quite a couple of times.
Because you know you're
going
to be one of the most hated
you are hated either way.
People
like nobody's saying
on Earth.
If referees did a great job, nobody's saying
no one's gonna
refs did a good job. No. They're just going to talk about the game.
Do you imagine some fan approaching you somewhere in the mall or the airport saying, "Oh, you're that ref who did an amazing job yesterday. Can we take a selfie?"
No, it's usually the other way around. Like, oh, you that ref that did not call that travel against my supported team, man.
It is a tough job, and credit to those people who volunteer to go and have a career at being a ref.
We are going to have one more topic about Madrid. But let's talk about the game that happened yesterday as well. Partizan, we talked last week how inconsistent they are with their performances, how they lost, and here you go again. Double week. It was super important for them if they want to make the play-in tournament. Double week against Asvel, and yesterday they beat Milan. They beat Milan by 20. With some guys out with injuries. Of course, Milano did not have full the roster. Also, Josh Nebo is basically nowhere to be found in Milano. Like, he had so many injuries this season, and it's unfortunate because he was so dominant last season. Now he's basically out for the whole year. But anyway, Milan Partizan plus 20. 3 guys scoring almost 90 points, 100 efficiency. I'm talking about Tyreek Jones, Carlik Jones, and Sterling Brown. And Partizan just basically taking off in the end of the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, relying on those guys. And I think we should talk more about Sterling Brown because that guy is playing on absolutely amazing level. And he's playing not only on one side of the court, but he's also doing that on the defensive end. When I was doing some research about him, I read the fact that like his wingspan is incredibly long, and you can see how that impacts the game of basketball. Like, he can go double another man on the side of the court, and when he's going back to his man with his hands up, like, there's no chance you are actually throwing that pass because he's going to deflect that, and Carlik Jones is going to go all the way and score that basketball in transition. So he's making so many tough shots. Like, when he's aggressive, I think he's really, really great, solid piece for Partizan. I think he could be even in the NBA right now. I mean, he was in the NBA before. I think he would help so many teams because he can shoot the ball, he can attack the closeout, and he can play great defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back to the NBA. Maybe not this summer, but who knows? But just I think he could help an NBA team in rotation. And just yesterday he was phenomenal. You could sense that in one way because in one of the first possessions, like Leandro Bolmaro was playing superb defense on Sterling Brown. He had to make like 15 dribbles and to shoot a fadeaway shot, and he still made that. And I'm like, you know, when the first shot goes in for some players, and you're like, "Ooh, this is going to be a lot."
That's me.
That's you.
That's why I dropped 14 points last weekend. I scored the first floater, and I felt so good about myself.
But it is a thing. It is a thing.
It is.
I even did some research, like with Jordan Lloyd, when he makes the first shot and when he misses the first shot, like when he makes, he averages like 16 points a game. When he misses, he averages like 9. A season ago, my colleague did the same thing with some other player. It's an amazing advantage when you make the first shot for the player, and Sterling Brown made that first shot. So many tough threes were made by Partizan in one-on-one basketball because Milano switched a lot. And like Carlik Jones ripped Milano defense apart. And your favorite player, Tyreek Jones, who last week you said he couldn't make a basket in the paint, was perfect. And he basically made all the shots that he missed last week. He finished the game with just ridiculous numbers. Sterling Brown, 26. Tyreek Jones, 22 points in 30 minutes, 9 of 9. 4 of 4 from the free throw range, and those 3 guys were just phenomenal. What do you have anything to add about that match, or just about Sterling Brown and how do you see him? Because in Partizan, he's not the main guy, I would say, but I think he's a perfect fit to almost any team that wants to compete for a championship in the EuroLeague.
Well, first of all, big win for Partizan because it was also a revenge, and they got the head-to-head advantage against Milano, and Milano could be one of their rivals for a playing spot. So that's a very, very important win on the road. Sterling Brown is a player that I discovered, first of all, in Milwaukee. He had a role in Milwaukee, and he looked like an NBA player who could and should have an NBA career, but at some point his career turned to Europe. And when he signed for Alba Berlin, I thought, well, playing in Berlin, he should be one of the top scorers in Europe, might even lead the EuroLeague in scoring, but it wasn't the case. Actually, if you look at his numbers in Alba Berlin and now in Partizan, his numbers are even better right now, playing for a stronger team with more talent and more options.
I think that it has to do something, in Alba, everybody saw him, like they play a certain style.
Yes.
And they saw him as the first option.
As the best player.
And to me,
it draws more attention to you.
Yeah, and to me, he's like the perfect second guy, who is defending the best perimeter player on the other side. And then when you ask him, he can do things. But you need a guy like Carlik Jones next to his side.
Just a few weeks ago, I read a quote from Serbian media where Sterling Brown said
best shooter?
He thinks he's the best shooter in EuroLeague. And I thought, well, a bit overconfident, aren't we? But if you look at the numbers,
46%, man.
It's 60% from 2, 46.5% from free, 92% from the line. Well, sounds like one of the best shooters in EuroLeague right now.
He's 9th best in 3-point percentage, and 46.5 is super solid.
And also, he's knocking down the free throws. And as he said, he's playing good defense. So I think for any player, consistency is key. So as soon as Sterling Brown becomes consistent and plays one full season consistently, you can start saying that now he's a star in Europe, or he might just move to the NBA and finally get a good contract there. Because even this year, well, there was a run of games, let's say from 5th to 8th game week, where he didn't score much, didn't have as many minutes, didn't look as good. He had a -7 in PAR in one game against Paris Basketball, and now he's just balling. So once he maintains this level he has right now for a full season, I will rank him as one of the top guards in the EuroLeague. But right now, Partizan are on a roll after this double game week. I know in Oaxaca last week it was a tough game for them, but in that atmosphere it probably was impossible for them to win. But they beat Asvel, they beat Milano, and they basically kicked their asses in the third quarter on both occasions.
Oh, the one in Villeurbanne was just ridiculous third quarter, and I thought Pierrick Poupé was mishandled that situation a little bit. He's done a great job so far, but just in that third quarter, he needed to call a timeout way earlier because he just let Partizan keep going and mounting that advantage, and the team on the court, like his players, did not know what to do. Partizan were playing aggressive. Partizan were playing how Željko Obradović wants them to play, just all the right decisions offensively. And how can you lose a game in like 5 or 6 or 7 minutes? Because it was tight game basically, and then Partizan are up like 20 in this much.
Well, he's a young coach, man. You learn from your mistakes.
And just going to Sterling Brown, everything you just said, in the last 4 games, I know it's a small sample size, but he's averaging 21.5 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists. When he's on the court, Partizan's offensive rating is 159 per 100 possessions. This is insane. 21 points better when he's not on the floor. And their defense are 25 points better when he's on the floor. Like, so you can see the impact sort of Sterling Brown has on this team. But again, I thought Milano's defense, on some possessions in the fourth quarter, like when they were playing that hedging defense, was kind of not on point. If you hedge, if your teammate is hedging on the pick and roll, you have to have weak side ready. And Tyreek Jones just could, he's fast to roll after the screen. Like, you have to be there early. And Tyreek Jones is just getting the ball in the paint, and he's like, why is nobody there? Or why is Shavon Shields just now running to me? Because if Jones gets the ball and there is not a guy to his chest, like, he's going to make the shot. He's going to dunk or just going to make a layup. So I was surprised a little bit, but also Partizan were so great at making shots. Kerlik Jones in one-on-one situations was unstoppable.
And they also did a good job on Mirotic and in defense in general.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot.
We don't really talk about Partizan as a good defensive team, but in this case, they were really solid.
They were the team that, in the summer when they were signing these guys, Sterling Brown, 6'5", with almost a 7-foot wingspan. Like, you expect them to be a defensive team, like Bonga, Sterling Brown,
Tyreek Jones,
Lundberg, and who else was on that? And Brandon Davis. This 5, I was like, yo, that's insane defensive length and potential here defensively. So they
Ntilikina also.
Ntilikina, yeah, but now he's injured.
I know, but just the player profile.
Yeah.
A tall guard who's a good defender.
Yeah. So I was like, this is going to be a defensive team. The numbers are not there, but yesterday I think they did a great job. Like, how many times Nikola Mirotic, like how many times I saw Mirotic being pissed off because he did not get the ball near the post. And basically every time he managed to get the ball, he shot the ball because he knew how hard it is actually to arrive to this point. So shout out for Partizan. Important double week for them because this was 2 must-win games for them.
Yeah,
I think. And probably that's it. Next thing we have, and we're going back to Madrid again. One of the biggest news I think this season, because Dennis Smith Jr., finally another former NBA player, joined Real Madrid, and his former teammate Lonnie Walker expects Dennis Smith Jr. to average 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in the EuroLeague. I'm seeing your face, Rytis, and
I don't see that.
You don't see that
for Madrid?
I'm really doubtful about that too.
Sorry,
by the way.
No. 13 points is doable. 6 rebounds. Where is he going to get those 6 rebounds from? Tavares is averaging almost 8. When was the last time a guard averaged 6 rebounds in the EuroLeague? Was there even a time like this?
I don't know.
I think he's being a bit too generous to his former teammate.
I mean, Hazonia has like 4.7 rebounds.
5 assists. I don't think he's going to have the ball in his hands that much. I mean, I know...
How do you see his role?
That's the thing. Expectations are really high because we're talking about the 9th pick, player who had some good years in Dallas. After that, he played for other teams in the NBA. You're looking at his profile, you sort of want to put him on the same shelf with Kendrick Nunn, with Lonnie Walker. But it was a while since I last saw Dennis Smith Jr. play. And when I heard, first of all, the rumors that Real Madrid are trying to sign Dennis Smith Jr. and after that, Devontae Graham, I thought, like, these are two completely different players. Like, Devontae Graham is a microwave type of scorer, a volume shooter, a small guard, while Dennis Smith Jr. is a taller guard, more athletic. He can play good defense as well, but he's not necessarily a good shooter. His 3-point percentage from the NBA is below 30.
Yeah.
So I think where he could bring value to Real Madrid is open court game. They like to play fast. They like to play in transition. They like to push the ball as soon as they get the rebound. And Dennis Smith Jr. definitely fits that type of game. If they play faster, they play more transition offense, that's where Dennis Smith Jr. could be super effective for Real Madrid. Other than that, they just needed quality. It's not about positions. It's not about perimeter or front court or back court. They just needed players. An extra player should bring a lot because he's probably going to take some minutes away from Feliz, from Ratan Mace, from maybe even Sergio Yui.
But I don't know.
And it's still Campazzo's, Hezonia's, Musa's team. I don't expect Dennis Smith Jr. to go there and start scoring 20 points per game and having the ball and being the alpha male. I don't think it's going to happen. It's Real Madrid. He has to realize that he's not just signing for some team in Europe. He is signing for the biggest organization in Europe.
Just because you're an NBA player that in your rookie season averaged 15, like Real Madrid are not going to give you keys of the team.
No.
And
they're established veterans, and it's not going to change.
I actually would have liked more Devontae Graham.
Because of his shooting?
Because of his shooting, because of the way he can rack up points in a hurry. We just talked about it. Like, that second unit needs options on offense. And an option in transition and not in half court. I know he's super athletic. He will help immensely on the defensive side. Like, when I imagine if there's going to be Facundo Campazzo, Dennis Smith Jr., and Walter Tavares at the same time on the court, you are going to have problems scoring. Like, I can already tell you that, because Facu is just all over the place. He's annoying to play against. Dennis Smith Jr., with his athleticism, he is the best at the point of attack defense. Like, he is going to guard the best perimeter player. And when you combine that with Tavares' size and ability to guard the paint, they're going to leave you the most uncomfortable shot there is in basketball. And they're going to make it tough on you. So it can help. Like, that defense can help you go in the transition. But you're still going to need to score in half court. And when your best 3-point shooting percentage in 7 years in the NBA is 32 and a half, I don't know how that's going to. It's going to make tougher for this adjustment period for Dennis Smith Jr. because teams in Europe now know how to expose a player that is not stable from the 3-point line.
Yep.
So
do you want to predict his averages?
Yeah, let's play this game. What do you think?
I'd say 7.2 points per game. 2.5 assists. Somewhere around 3 rebounds per game and a steal per game. because he's a good defender. And since he's coming from the NBA, we know that American NBA guards work with their hands a lot and they go for steals a lot. So he's probably going to average a steal per game as well. What do you think?
Maybe I'll go a little bit higher, like 8.7 points per game. Somewhere around the same numbers defensively in rebounds and assists, because I'm looking at how many points Madrid are averaging, like Hezonja 14.6, Campazzo 13.6, Musa 13, and then Tavares at 9. I don't expect Dennis Smith Jr. to be racking up 15 points a game.
No,
immediately.
It doesn't work like that in Madrid. It doesn't work. If Hezonja is averaging what you said, 13?
14.6. Top scorer.
Look, there are teams in Europe where Hezonja would average 20. But it just doesn't happen in Madrid.
It is really interesting signing, and definitely, they needed a player. I'm interested to see like how lineups will change. Their starting lineup usually is Campazzo, Abalde, Musa, Tavares, and Jaya.
Well, when Deck was healthy, it was different.
Yeah.
Deck is out, and he's probably coming back only in February.
So I don't think I would see him in the starting lineup instead of Abalde, but at the same time, I think he's going to play with more. I think he's going to start the game with the second unit, just to add Hezonja, give Hezonja some help, and because Andre Feliz is not really in confidence and playing his best basketball.
And it's just not enough. I mean.
Yeah,
the summer signings Real Madrid made, you expect Real Madrid to sign big names, star players. They just sign ACB League role players, so it's definitely not enough. His debut might actually happen this Sunday in Andorra, and probably EuroLeague debut next week.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see that, and I don't know if that changes how I see Madrid. And
I think they still need one more player to add.
Who would you add, guard or a big?
A big.
A big?
A proper 4.
Yeah, in place of Yabusele.
Because now, when Deck is out, Ndiaye starts as a 4, then Hezonja plays a lot of minutes as a 4. I think if you add a true power forward, it would give you so many more options of how to play. You can bring Deck back to that small forward position where he so often has an advantage playing in the post, Hezonja as well. That's what I would look for, but I know the market is tough and it's hard to sign a player that meets the requirements for Real Madrid.
Okay, last topic for today. Pretty, I would say, one that I did not expect to talk about, but Dame Lillard had an interview in which he was asked about finishing his career in the EuroLeague, and he said, "You never know." Quote unquote, he said, "It's something I've talked about with some members of my family the past 2 years, but not seriously thought about. What if I went and played on a EuroLeague team just because the experience at the end of my career? But it's something I haven't seriously thought about." He repeated himself, but you never know. Of course, European media, including us, obviously, made a headline out of that. Do you think it's actually a real thing, and where would you see Dame? If he joins Europe, when his current deal finishes, and that would be for the 27-28 season.
He would be 37 years old? 36, 37?
Something like that.
First of all, I looked at the comments on Instagram. What I didn't like is people giving that Kemba Walker example. Kemba Walker
that's unfair.
Had no knees, and his career was already finished when he signed with Monaco. He wasn't able to play, and it's an unfair comparison. If Damian Lillard is still healthy at 36 or 37, he will still be elite scorer.
First of all, he had a way better career than Kemba did.
And he doesn't have such harsh injury history. So that is very important. He's taking care of his body. He looks in top shape right now. I think he still has 3 or 4 years in the NBA for sure. But if he decides to retire in Europe to, let's say, get some EuroLeague experience, there would be teams willing to sign him just because of the big name and the possibilities on the market, but also because of his abilities on the basketball court. And the best team for him would be the team that lets guards and scorers play with freedom, and it's probably Ataman's team. So I don't know if in 3 or 4 or 5 years it will still be Panathinaikos, but the way Kendrick Nunn is playing for Ataman, the way Micic was playing for Ataman, Larkin was playing for Ataman, that's the way to go if you sign Dame Lillard. Ergin Ataman, let me remind you, he coached Deron Williams.
Exactly.
He coached Deron Williams in Besiktas. Picked Deron Williams during the lockout year. And in one game, he dropped 50 or something in a FIBA Cup game.
Yeah, but that was unfair, him playing at that level.
I know. So give Dame Lillard to Ergin Ataman and he'll know what to do. What do you think?
I would watch every Panathinaikos game in the Greek League.
So he's your favorite player, right?
Yeah, he's my favorite player. I've been watching him in Portland since he was drafted. And I was a fan of Brandon Roy and the Blazers before. But Brandon Roy got,
Man, Brandon
the whole
Roy,
history.
the streets will never forget, man.
Yeah.
What a player.
Yeah. Kobe said he was the toughest guy to guard and play against.
Brandon
in the
Roy
NBA.
was insane. One of the biggest what-if stories in the NBA, actually.
Oh, my God. I think I'm going to cry. Nostalgia hits hard, man. Nostalgia hits hard. That would be interesting. Damian Lillard in Panathinaikos. And I could see Pau actually, throwing money to lure him in to Athens. And
we're talking about an organization that signed Dominique Wilkins.
And they had so many NBA players throughout the years.
They
Good,
had
bad, borderline
like
NBA players.
Tony Delk, Marcus Banks, Jason Capono, players that
Wesley Johnson.
Players that actually had good NBA CVs. They signed Jameer Fredette.
Oh yeah, too.
So if Dame is available, I think they would be the team willing to sign him.
I wish this happens. I really do.
That would be nice.
Probably not, but you never know. Just like how Damian Lillard said. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. If you're still watching, drop a like, of course, for the work we are doing every day, not only for this podcast. Thanks for watching, and next week we are going to be here, not only hopefully 2 of us, and you will see our hosts back. See you soon.